Willkommen, meine Freunde. I'm not really German, but I bet I fooled somebody. Somebody who's never seen me before thought I was German. Anyone? Anyone at all? No? Never mind. Okay. 2v2 online battle. Karak, Ungor, Skaven and High Elves versus BRETONNIA and High Elves. An unlikely pairing all across the board. Just a random matchup. But here's my Skaven army. And this is pretty much the build that I put in the Skaven guide. I've got a front line of 3 units of Storm Vermin. They are slightly upgraded, so they have slightly better melee defense and stuff to make them a little bit tougher, a little bit better at holding the line. I've got 2 units of Poisoned Wind Globadiers for any anti-large needs, because of course those dragons could be a problem with the High Elves. I've got a bunch of Clan Rat Spears knocking around for my main piece of anti-large. One there, one at the other end. 2 units of Skaven Slave Slingers, just cheap and cheerful, good distraction if nothing else. My Lord is Gracier of Plague on his Bell Tower Mount cart thing. Going to try and make use of that magic and the spawning spells, of course. I've also got a unit of Storm Vermin with halberds in the middle there, but that's my main frontline army. And then off to the left, my flanking army is 3 units of Rat Ogres in all their beautiful brutal glory, with 4 units of Skaven Slave Spears to, of course, tie up and help flank as well. So if you've seen my Skaven guide, you'll know that my plan here is to pretty much rush up with this main army and just distract, and then come around with this crushing, brutal army of death from the left and just overrun everything possible. To my right, there is a High Elf army, which is my ally, of course. He's got 3 units of Phoenix Guard, a visually pleasing unit, if nothing else, although they do have a lot else going for them. They are very tough. They got a lot of great stats all across the board. They can do their damage, they can hold the line. A very versatile unit. Then he's got a bunch of Lothan Sea Guard. Of course, they are spear and ranged infantry. He's got a Sun Dragon for all his air superiority needs, as well as his Lord, who is a Flying Eagle Prince. So they're going to have the skies covered, hopefully. And then there's a Lore Master of Hoeth to complete this High Elf army. So it's a very small army, definitely a quality over quantity build here. So we'll have to see what he can do with that. Phoenix Guard are very powerful though, so hopefully he can get it done. Let's look at the High Elves on the opposite side. This is my opponent, who is lined up on my side. He's got 5 units of Spearmen who have been upgraded to gold chevrons. 3 gold chevrons, so they are as good as they can get. Ridiculous amounts of melee defense, 66. And a hell of a lot of leadership as well. So these boys are going to be really tough to get rid of. They are going to hold the line very damn well. Lore Master of Hoeth here. Some Sword Masters of Hoeth as well. Just 1 unit of those. They're a pretty dangerous infantry to have to deal with. His general is Teclis on a horsey, who is, you know, pretty good with all his different spells, although not a melee combatant by any means. And then 4 units of Lothan Sea Guard. Again, spear and missile infantry, very useful in many situations. And he also has 1 unit of Dragon Princes, who are a mighty cavalry, and who do look freaking awesome, actually. I've never really looked that closely at Dragon Princes for some reason, but damn, they look cool. A very heavy anti-large build on this one, basically all spears for the most part. Even the missiles have spears, so my Rat Ogres could have some problems with this, but we'll have to see how we fare. BRETONNIA has a front line of Battle Pilgrims, slightly upgraded. Definitely one of the best choices for a front line if you're playing BRETONNIA. He's got a unit of Foot Squires behind them for all his armor piercing needs, and then 3 units of Fire Arrow Peasants, always useful of course, good range, good damage. Another unit of Foot Squires, armor piercing anti-large, Damsel of Life to help heal his troops up, Grail Reliquary to help keep his troops in the fight, another anti-large, and then 2 units of cavalry, only 2, but they are Knights of the Realm who are pretty good. Not amazing, but they will get the job done if you use them correctly. So 2 units of cavalry, pretty cool looking as well. So a fairly standard Bretonnian build here. Oh, his general as well is, who is it? It's Alberic de Bordelot on a Griffin, or a Hippogriff, or a Griffer Hip, or something. So there's the armies, and we are about to throw down. Let's get this underway. So we're all moving over to our respective opponents. I'm moving over to the left to face the High Elves, as they are on my side. And my ally is moving up to face BRETONNIA with his tiny army. So first of all, like I said, I've got a bit of a problem here because these are all spears. There's just so many spears all throughout this army. My Rat Ogres are going to have a lot to deal with because they need to avoid the anti-large, really. So I figure I've got to try and just keep them on the move, use them like a shock cavalry, don't let them settle down fighting spearmen, and just keep bouncing them around as much as possible. And lately I've been really trying to play to my strengths online a bit more. Like, I think everyone has factions that they're good at and factions that they're bad at. I think everyone has those. No one is really a master of every single faction, which is what I've always kind of tried to be. And I think that's been a bit of my downfall. I've maybe just been a bit too experimental, so I'm trying to refine some builds a bit more now with certain factions. Alberic de Bordelot coming a bit too close, going to Poison Wind Globadier him away. I've just brought my general over, just so I can get these clan rats behind the enemy line. I didn't want to spawn them. I'm going to use this rock for cover from all the missiles. I knew I'd take a bit of missile fire, but that's fine. It's totally worth it for this spawning of clan rats, so I can run up on all these Lothern Sea Guard and just try and distract them a bit. Front lines are about to engage. My storm vermin are moving up. They should do pretty well against the spearmen. Spearmen don't do a lot of damage, but they just take damage really well, so we should be able to chop through them though, because storm vermin are pretty powerful. Phoenix Guard are about to be engaged by the battle pilgrims on this side. They're not charging into them though. All these effects are making my thing lag. Front lines are engaged for Bretonnia and the High Elves. But back to what I was just saying about factions. So for me, like the Greenskins, the Skaven, Norska, maybe even the Dwarves as well, they're all like my strongest factions. I play those factions pretty well. Oh, on the left here, so I'm bringing my flanking army round. He's just done a little bit of a cav spear trap. And I did notice just in time, but I thought I'd keep charging anyway. And he foolishly charged his spears into my Rat Ogres here, which means they don't get their charge defense against large. And you can see they've taken quite a bit of damage now. Nearly a quarter of their health from that Rat Ogre charge. And he's put a lot of money into them, so bit of a bad move there. But the front lines and everything else pretty much engaged here. Storm vermin have just got to cut their way through all the enemies. Same thing's happening over here. Phoenix Guard are getting the better of all the Bretonnian infantry. And the Bretonnian player making a bit of a mistake here, I think. He's got his 2 units of cavalry fighting the general when they could be coming around here to absolutely destroy all the Lothern Sea Guard in the back. So, bit of a missed opportunity there from him, I think. Some of my storm vermin struggling a bit. They're facing the Hoeth, so a bit of a struggle, but they're wavering as well, so we're getting rid of them. I pulled my Rat Ogres through. I immediately tried to pull my Rat Ogres through away from the spears, didn't want them fighting them. One of them just stood there, but the other ones, as you can see, I've made an absolute mess of his backline at the moment. I've got Rat Ogres, I've got spells going, I've got some clan rats. Storm vermin have made their way through, they've broken the spears. Dragon princes are over here, trying to get after my general, but I've got the poison wind globadiers absolutely bombing them to crap. Tied them up with the clan rat spears. You can see he's trying to push through them, but failing miserably. Looking good, destroyed the back line. Just got to finish off these tougher units and keep my Rat Ogres in the game, getting a rear charge here. All is well with the Skaven. I think maybe I shouldn't have bunched up all my Skaven slave spears here. I've got all 4 units fighting these 2 units. I definitely could have just left 2 of them there and flanked around with the other 2 to help take the Lothern Sea Guard. So a bit of a mess up there on my part. Over here, Bretonnian infantry has mostly been defeated. The cavalry's finally coming through, but spells are being dropped and reducing them pretty quick. Bretonnian infantry, though, is mostly on the run. Some of these Phoenix Guard still getting a bit hammered. They're still putting up a fight, though, these Bretonnians. And speaking of, again, back to the point I was just making about good factions and bad factions, Bretonnia are one of my worst factions. I'm absolutely terrible, for some reason, when playing as Bretonnia. I know how to play them. I made a freaking guide on it. Alright, I know their strengths and weaknesses, but for some reason, I'm just not very good at using Bretonnia. I'm not sure why. Who else am I not very good with? Vampires, maybe? I'm not fantastic with the vampires. I'm not a huge fan of the vampires, generally. But yeah, just been trying to hone my skills as certain factions. And that's part of the reason why I've been playing on this secret profile that nobody can ever know about until someone figures it out. But it's like, if you come up against me online in the lobby and you see that I'm choosing Skaven, there's a good chance, now that I've just told you this, you know that I might bring this build. So there's an advantage you have over me, and you might try to secure your flanks with more anti-large and stop the Rat Ogres, blah blah blah. So just trying to find a few builds that I like and that work really well and just hone them, and then also not have my online play ruined because everyone knows what I'm going to do. So yeah, this is just part of my journey to try and get a bit better online, I think. I think that's what this is ultimately coming down to. Some of these spearmen holding out pretty well for the High Elves. Most of their army has been destroyed. My Rat Ogres trying to finish off some of the beaten up units up here. These are spearmen though, so of course they are going to be a struggle. And there they go, wavering. Some random clan rat spears running off after some... Cool, just doing their own thing. Don't even remember telling them to do that, but whatever. Bretonnia. Ooh, Bretonnia turning things around here. Looking like Bretonnia's got more of an army left than the High Elves at the moment, so things could be changing for the worse for the High Elves over here. These cavalry still taking that spell. I feel like they've had that spell on them the whole time. One of his cavalry all the way out here. But it still remains to be seen who's going to win this fight on the right. My fight is pretty much won. The Bretonnian general, though, Alberic, is coming over. He's trying to get my general dead, as my Grey Seer is very low on health now. My bell tower... Oh, dropping a 180 handbrake turn there. That was nice. Bit of bell tower drifting. Why not? I've got my poison wind globadiers trying to gun down Alberic. He doesn't have a great deal of health left himself. I've got 2 units of poison wind. Also some Skaven slave slingers popping in there. There you go. Ooh, they're nice. Most of them missed, but they are quite nice. There, he landed a bit better. You see his health melting off. He's going to try and fly away. Very little health left for my boy. Oh, some random spell dropped. Don't know if that was me or them. Alberic still taking the fire. Who's going to die first? flying off. These spearmen over here on the left still holding to all the Skaven slave spears. They're not going down easy because they are being attacked by Skaven slave spears. Alberic coming back around. He was just lining himself up for a nice charge. Is he going to finish me off? No, it's not. Grey Seer still alive, but he is going to rout my Grey Seer now. He's turning around and he is off-ski. So he's routed there. Very little health. But Alberic himself is wavering also. Why he's not over helping the rest of his army, I don't really know. He should probably win his own fight before he tries to win his allies. And we are going to finish Alberic off. Alberic is going to go down, and that's going to be pretty huge for BRETONNIA, as they were looking like they were making a comeback, but now their morale is going to be pretty shattered. And you can see the High Elves are bringing it back now. All the BRETONNIans are running away, and it's looking pretty sad for them. And the same on the left. We're just finishing off what's left. These spearmen still putting up a damn good fight. Storm Vermin are into them now. Lawmaster's there though. A couple of units in the distance. Got some Storm Vermin chasing them down. Getting hammered by some missiles though. In other news, Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia has been announced, of course. The Vikings invading Britain. It's going to be all about that, about 1,000 years ago when that all went down. I'm pretty excited for it. I do love Viking history and Vikings in general anyway, and I am British, so it really applies to me on both levels. But I am curious to know what you people think about it. Those of you who are new to Total War and have only ever played Warhammer, does this historical title interest you at all? I'd definitely say to give it a go. I'd definitely say to try out some of the older historical Total Wars if you've never tried any other ones, if you're new to Total War. I definitely think people can find enjoyment in those even if you're generally not into history. And I actually, when I started playing Total War, I wasn't really that into history. Right? I don't really care about Romans or Vikings. I only played it because I liked samurais and ninjas, so I played Shogun as my first one, and that got me into it. And then from there, I got interested in the history, and now I love history. And it's all thanks to Total War. And I actually come from a city called Bath. You may have heard of it. It's famous for its Roman baths. It's been around for like 2,000 years, and I love the fact that I come from such a historical city. It was built by Romans, and I find that awesome. So maybe you should look into your town or city and see what happened where you come from. Because for all you know, you could be living in a Viking city. Maybe your city was invaded by Napoleon at some point. Maybe Hitler took your city at some point. Maybe Abraham Lincoln was born in your town. Who knows what history your place of birth or your town that you're living in may hold. It's all pretty interesting. And that's the great thing about the historical Total Wars, is they are based on history. They're based on incredible people that did incredible things. Julius Caesar, Attila the Hun. You can even pretend to be King Leonidas if you want. Whatever you're into. All these amazing people from history that have been through things that we'll never go through. You and me will never lead an army, right? These are men that you can learn things from, and women as well. Joan of Arc, Boadicea, Cleopatra. Amazing people, done amazing things. Look at history. Anyway, I've gone off on one. I do apologise. You came here to watch Total War, not get a history lesson. Anyway, if you do want to try and get yourself into the new Total War Saga Viking stuff coming out, go and watch Vikings on Amazon. It's damn good, and it will get you in the mood for it. Take a few episodes to get going, but when it does, it's pretty damn awesome. Anyway, this battle's pretty much won for me and my ally. Just mopping up what's left. I managed to overcome my anti-large high elf opponent. Let's fast forward this now. We're pretty much watching nothing. And my ally managed to defeat the numbers advantage of the BRETONNIans. Oh, let's watch this. So this guy was charging his last little spearman over to try and attack my rat ogres. I left him there to the last minute. I thought, come on, then get a little bit closer. Oh no, I haven't seen these spearmen. They are going to kill me. Oh no, they're not. Oh no, they're freaking out. Oh, that right hook from the rat ogres. Actually, it was a left hook. But there we go. They have been defeated. A Pyrrhic victory, of course. A difficult challenge. Let's see how we did. So you can see the numbers. I had a lot of numbers, but my ally had very small numbers. And then a similar sort of deal on the opposing team. Skaven slaves, of course, did nothing. My Storm Vermin doing the bulk of the work. 176 for that one. Big work from them. Rat ogres did pretty well. We used them pretty effectively. Good stuff. What about my ally? Phoenix Guard, of course, tore it up. Lothern Sea Guard putting in the work as well. So he's used all his units pretty effectively. Apart from this dragon, only 32 kills for the dragon. That is a pretty pitiful amount, considering how much he paid. But he may have done a fair amount of damage with his breath attacks and stuff. BRETONNIA, some of the cavalry did okay. Missiles did alright. Battle Pilgrims did absolutely dreadfully, as you might have expected. They probably should have been flanked around to try and get after the Lothern Sea Guard or something, because they were never going to win against Phoenix Guard. Foot Squires did a little bit. They were going to be the best ones to take on the Phoenix Guard. But there we go. Oh, no. We forgot about the other High Elves. What do they do? Not a great deal. We kept these Lothern Sea Guard. Some of these spears doing okay. They were probably mostly killing Skaven slaves though. Dragon Princes, again, one of his strongest units. Didn't really get the use. 20 kills. Pretty pathetic. They should have been flanking round, hammer and anvil the crap out of things. Lord Master of Hoth did okay. General, not so much. Teclis, didn't even see a net spell from Teclis. It's one of his strongest traits, but there you go. What could have changed in this battle for both sides? Well, for me personally, what could I have done better? I definitely could have flanked better. I should have just gone round those spearmen. I should have just used some of my clan rats to tie up the spears and flank round cleanly with my rat ogres instead of charging them through those spears. I think that would have been a better idea. Maybe could have used my magic a bit more effectively as well. I dropped a few spells, but it wasn't great. My storm vermin doing the bulk of the work for me though, because they're pretty damn tough. My opponent had a ranged advantage with all his missiles, his high elf missiles, pretty good range on them. They could have blasted me a bit first, but he moved up to me really close, so he didn't really get the chance to use them that much. And then he didn't try to flank round. He really needed to hammer and anvil me with those dragon princes. My storm vermin, he needed some support to get rid of those storm vermin because his spearmen were just never going to get through them. The Bretonnian player probably needed to hammer and anvil the Phoenix Guard because again, battle pilgrims were never going to get through them. Foot squires, they did alright against them, but the foot squires could have done a better job getting after the Loth and Sea Guard, like I said, and the Knights of the Realm could have come round. Knights of the Realm, maybe not the best choice against the High Elves. I mean, they do have some strong cavalries and the anti-large is useful, but some questing knights, one of the best cavalries going, I think. Questing knights are awesome. Could have brought some of them. My High Elf ally maybe needed to make more of a play to get rid of those missiles a bit earlier, because they probably did quite a bit of damage. They're probably the thing that took down the dragon as well. His eagle and dragon maybe could have helped deal with them a bit better, but he seemed to do okay. He won the fight, so it's all good. I think that about wraps this one up. I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you in the future.